Elland Road is the setting. One of England's most iconic football grounds, and Argyle are out to try and cause an upset and grab their first win at the home of Leeds United for 62 years. Well, it'll be a tough ask, that is for sure, but all of the build-up is coming your way over the next half an hour or so here on Argyle TV. Leeds United are just outside the top two, Argyle at the other end, in the bottom three as we start play today. As always, this is the place to follow all of the action. Hello, good afternoon. I am Charlie Price and this is the pre-match show on Matchday Live here on Argyle TV. 1,300 Argyle supporters have made the difficult journey to Yorkshire today, hoping to see something a little bit special. It has been a tough return to Championship action after the international break for Plymouth Argyle, but who knows? Did last weekend's second half comeback against Preston just provide that little boost that can take them into the next three matches heading in to the November international break? Well, it all starts today against the Leeds United side, who are strong at home and looking to get back up into those automatic promotion places. You will be able to follow all of the action with us here on Argyle TV throughout the afternoon. Match passes are available to buy right now. If you're in the UK, you can get audio match passes for £2.50. And if you live overseas, then international streaming passes can be purchased for just £10. Head to pafc.co.uk, click on the Argyle TV tab for all of the details. Well, helping me over the next half an hour is former Argyle striker Ian Stonebridge. And without being all too doom and gloom, Stoney, it is a real tough ask for Argyle today, isn't it?
It is, of course. You know, away form aside, going to Leeds is always going to be a tough game. Clearly, they've got resources that should stand them in really good stead at this level, and that's probably shown so far in their results and their position in the league. But having said that, this league is very strange. We see unexpected results all the time, I think. So, you know, hopefully we can perhaps produce one of those this afternoon.
And football is a very strange game as well. We saw that in evidence last week. And little moments like that, you know, a 20-minute burst at the end of a game, taking it into the next one, can sometimes just be that little spark that teams need.
Yeah, I think clearly the first part of the game was something they'll want to forget and put behind them. But the way they came back, the spirit they showed, I guess the togetherness and the never say die spirit that took them right to the end of the game is something that they may well need today.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. Plenty of injuries was the discussion in the week, and Argyle have made quite a few changes to their starting 11. Let's have a look at the team Wayne Rooney has picked today. 6 changes in total. Pretty much every senior defender available and fit is playing. So we knew Joe Edwards was out. We knew that Lewis Gibson was out, both with fairly long-term injuries. Adam Randall, also the latest to hit the injury table, he is not involved, which means that Caleb Roberts gets his first league start of the season. Actually 2 years on from his debut for Argyle, which is quite remarkable. And Ian Stonebridge, quite a defensive-looking team in terms of the personnel that have been picked in the 11.
Yeah, at first glance, that's what it looks like, although clearly in the instructions and in the way they set up, there's the chance perhaps for that to be less so. But I think we're expecting, a solid back four and then quite a defensive-looking midfield in front of that, and maybe there's going to be quite an onus on Barley Mumba and or better today to try and get forward and support Ryan Hardy when there's that opportunity.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see in which way they do kind of work out. As someone who's obviously played the game, do you like that sort of team heading into a game against a really tough side in Leeds?
Well, I think that they've set themselves up in a way that gives them a chance to get something out of the game. I think if you'd gone there with the personnel that are available and tried to play open, attacking, expansive football, arguably that is asking for trouble given the kind of quality that Leeds possess in those attacking areas. Setting themselves up with a solid back four and really attempting to deny Leeds those spaces in between the lines, and particularly I think the distances today between the full-backs and the centre-backs is going to be key. So the fact that they've got Mumba and better potentially on the flanks either side does offer them the opportunity to obviously drop into bolster those numbers even more, and whether that ends up as a 4 or 5 or even a 6 at times, with those 3 solid midfielders in front, that has the potential to make Leeds' life difficult in terms of creating chances.
And if we get to that later stage of the game and it is either tight or level, you do look at the names that are on the bench for Argyle. There's actually not a defensive player on the bench for Argyle, so they are all attacking players, and that it's a big if potentially, but you don't know, do you? The way that it's been set up, if we are in the game with 20 minutes to play, then you put on those players that can maybe go and grab something.
Yeah, you do, and given the injuries and the personnel available, I think the starting lineup is understandable. Clearly, it is very defensive, and there'll be people with their opinions about whether that's the right way to go. But they've obviously devised a plan. They've thought about it a great deal, I'm sure, and picked this team with a real kind of intention to go out and be solid. And at the same time, the selection, I think, of Ryan Hardy up there shows the type of attacks that they may be getting a chance for today. So, that counter-attack or an opportunity to transition nice and quickly and get forwards and make the most of his pace in creating an opportunity or two would be the way to go. And yeah, like you say, if we stay in the game and we stay competitive, there's plenty of those options on the bench that arguably would kind of cause you to play differently if those players were on the pitch from the start. So again, understandable. I think it's easy to appreciate that there'll be lots of fans who have differing views and might be disappointed with the how defensive the lineup appears to be. But as I say, I think it's fair to wait until the game starts and to see what actually transpires in terms of the instructions and the shape that those players have been given. Yeah, and the criticism in recent weeks, the last couple of away games, has been the openness and ease in which teams have been able to attack us. Not exclusive to away matches. I think Wayne Rooney sat in here and said the same thing about the Preston game. That they're just too easy to create chances against. Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, even without the enforced changes, we might well have seen a slightly different approach to this game, even with those players available. So yeah, it will be interesting to see exactly how they set up. But clearly, it does on paper. That 11 looks like a more defensive lineup than we've seen in recent games.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the Leeds side as well. They don't have quite as many injury problems available or against them. There was a doubt over Dan James, but he is fit and able to play in that attacking lineup. Verba as well is back on the bench after being out for a little while. Junior Firpo is the only change, coming in at the back for Jayden Bogle. Other than that, it is the same team that got a 0-0 draw against Bristol City. We mentioned their sort of standing in the division and quality. Which players in particular there stand out to you, Ian?
Well, yeah, I think it's the pace of James and Nonto in those counter attacks and forward play that may have scared Argyle. I think in terms of the setup, and again, clearly part of the intention today might be to play slightly deeper and not give them the opportunity to exploit the space in behind the back line. So you can understand that to a degree. Pirro up front, he's a clever player. I think perhaps in his Leeds career he's been used. Not necessarily always been used as the target player or the player playing furthest forward, but we did highlight, I think, this morning that the kind of fluidity and the interchangeability of those forward players may well mean we don't see them, end up in the positions that they start in all the time. But certainly Pirro's such a clever player. He's got great quality on the ball. His touch is fantastic. So he may well be key for Leeds today. If Argyle do keep the game really tight, he's going to be important, I think, for them from a point of view of creating opportunities within those tight spaces. Yeah,
which will be quite interesting, because you mentioned the pace of James and Nonto. They'll want space to run into if possible. That might not be given to them today. We know that Willie Nonto has the ability to do more than just run in behind. Dan James too, but maybe Brandon Aronson and Joel Pirro could be those sort of players that could maybe unpick some things.
Listen, we know they're good enough to create something even in tight spaces. That's why they're at a club like Leeds. That's why several of them have got Premiership experience as well. So Argyle, not only in terms of closing spaces in general, they also need to make sure they're always getting to the ball, getting pressure on the ball. And I think Wayne Rooney certainly highlighted that the need for the intensity and the competitiveness, the closing down. Almost needs to be there right. It does need to be there right from the start in order to stop Leeds creating those chances.
Yeah, you mentioned Wayne Rooney there. Let's hear from him now. He said he was angry after the 3-3 draw against Preston last weekend, despite that stirring second half comeback, and he wanted to see a reaction. Well, has he been able to? He sat down with me earlier this week to discuss it. You know, you spoke after the game on Saturday against Preston about being angry. Yeah, the finish was grandstand and all of that, but presumably you wanted to see a response from the team this week in training and of course on Saturday. Have you seen it?
Yeah, we haven't. I think, you know, it weren't just Saturday. I think the last 3 games for us, we're letting goals in too easy, and it needs to be more difficult for the opposition to score against us. So something we've focused on this week to try and be a bit more resilient. You know, getting into our shape quicker, getting to the ball, being more aggressive. Something we've worked on this week, and we're certainly going to need all that if we're going to get it out of the game on Saturday.
Yeah, we have seen it this season, haven't we? We've seen it like you know, in the away games at Burnley and at West Brom. That sort of resilience, and so you know it's there.
Yeah, no, it is. Listen, we've said this to the players. We've had a bad week, I think, and you know, 3 tough games, but I think we can do better in all 3 games. So we've had a bad week, and it's important. And listen, we know it's going to be a tough game Saturday, but we're prepared, we're ready. We have to be resilient. We're going to suffer a little bit during the game, so we need all that strength and character to help us get through the game.
Yeah, they're on a good run of form obviously at the moment, just outside those automatic promotion spaces. But you know, what's the messaging going into that game? Not to be too fearful, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be fearful, and we know they're a good team. You've got good players, but I think for us we have to be more compact. We have to be harder to play against. We have to get to the ball. We're going to have to put tackles in and blocks, but also on the flip side to that, you know, when we get the ball, can we take the ball? Can we try and play? Can we try and cause Leeds problems? If we do that, then we'll have to give ourselves the best chance of getting something.
Yeah, I know you won't be looking ahead to the game next week against Portsmouth here, but because it's so quickly after the game against Leeds, to get a positive, even just a really positive performance heading into a home game will be beneficial, won't it, so soon afterwards?
Yeah, of course, and I think, you know, again we've got another tough week, 3-game week, so some tough games in there. So yeah, this is the start of a tough week for us. When, you know, we're going there to try and get something out of the game. If we can do that and take that into the game on Tuesday, then that'd be perfect.
I'm going to pick up on that point that I just mentioned there about the Portsmouth game. Now, I asked him about it in terms of if you can get a positive result, you can take a little bit into that home game against Portsmouth as a bit of momentum, maybe. I've seen a few comments online from supporters saying this team selected today is with an eye to Portsmouth, i.e. resting players for that game, which could be argued to be more important. Do you see that being that way? Or do you maybe think, let's get something here and move into Portsmouth with a positive, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the bench and I think I understand that picking Hardy, for example, fits with the notion that today we're going to be doing more defending than attacking, and the opportunities to attack are going to need pace to potentially exploit those. So I don't necessarily look at today's subs and think actually they would be a huge addition to what's on the pitch. So I don't necessarily see it as an overt resting of people with the next game in mind. Morgan Whittaker clearly is a player who isn't on the bench very often. Obviously he's someone who can create something out of nothing in a game and you know, score a goal from anywhere essentially. Perhaps the other side of the game, the manager deciding that there are players who can offer more that's going to be useful against Leeds in today's game from the start. You know, we fully expect to see some of those subs at some point in the game. But no, I don't. It doesn't strike me that it's a blatant resting of certain players. I think being a manager and a coaching staff, when you've got a run of games coming up, that has to come into their thinking at some point. But it's not like we've got loads of players on that bench where we'd be thinking, actually, yeah, we're desperate to see them start, unless you take a completely different attitude towards today's game and you put out a much more attacking lineup. You know, so I think it's understandable. It doesn't strike me, you know, in a huge sense that there are players being rested for the next game. But at the same time, that might not be too far from the manager's thoughts. Yeah.
I want to ask you about Caleb Roberts. I mean, a huge occasion for him. He did actually start in the cup game against Leeds at Ellen Road last year. It was him and Adam Randall in midfield. We got a 1-1 draw. But, you know, it's his first appearance of the season he has been out injured, but what must he probably be thinking in there at the moment?
Yes, it's a great opportunity. It's a huge occasion. Wouldn't be surprised if it's not in their thinking that he's already played there and experienced that as an occasion, because obviously for young players it's a huge place to go. It's one of the biggest games in the Championship at the moment. So it's a great opportunity for him. I think hopefully he's got players around him in Jordan Houghton and Adam Forshaw who can really help him and talk him through the game. And I hope he can get forward and do something in an attacking sense, as well as his physical capabilities in terms of being mobile and able to get around the pitch. I'm sure will be a great asset in terms of closing down and retaining that shape that Argyle are going to have to keep today.
Yeah. The other thing that I find quite interesting with this team is we've spoken about playing away from home compared to playing at home, and I'm not going to go over the record again. Everybody knows what that is, but you've said in the past other players that played for Argyle and seen certainly under Paul Sturrock have said that you sometimes have to sacrifice your principles of play when you go away because it's not the same, and whether it's forced on him or not today, like you said, we may have seen a similar sort of side like to this in this game, just because of the fact that the way we want to play every game hasn't worked away from home yet. So let's try something a little bit different.
Absolutely, and I think what's going to be interesting as well is what Argyle do try and do when they do have the ball. Because clearly we're going to have goal kicks. Grimshaw's going to have the ball in his hands at various points today. So, are they going to look to kick longer? Are they going to look to play slightly more directly? If they do, again, it will be interesting as well to see who has licence to try and get up and support Ryan Hardy. Because
could that be Caleb, for example?
It could, absolutely. We expect maybe the wide players as well. So whether that's Ballymunber and Ogbetter on the other side, potentially. The danger there is if you commit too much and you get overexcited in the sense of trying to go and score a goal, that's potentially where the danger lies. But clearly Argyle set up with a fairly robust, solid back four, then that's the intention, to always provide that insurance policy along with maybe at least two of those three midfielders. Jordan Houghton and Adam Forshaw are obviously really experienced at providing that defensive screen in front of a back four. Yeah.
Right, let's hear from the Leeds point of view. Daniel Farker is their head coach. They've been on a good run so far this season. They're outside the top two on goal difference and have won their last three. Here he is talking to the press.
Against a side this weekend who's conceded 22, surely the emphasis has to be how much damage you can inflict.
Yes, it's always both has to come together. So first of all, we have to repeat again our really good defensive behavior and the controlling of all the counterattacks. Yes, on the other side, we also want to create chances also to be a bit more effective in using them. And I'm still very respectful, I have to say, so because once we prepare for opponent, we normally have a deeper look into more or less into the last 8 games. And if you analyze more or less last eight games of Plymouth, you have to say they've shown both faces. A bit in the away games, they've lost 4 games, but in the home games they were unbeaten and won 10 points out of these 4 games, and against really good sides. And I think it always depends on how much you make sure that you make out of this game your game and not their game. Because if you allow them to play football, it's a really good football side. They play brave and with courage. And if you allow them to develop their game, they can be dangerous. And also in their away games, yes, they've lost the last 4 away games, but 3 times in the thinnest margin that was possible. 3 times the 1-0. They had in the last 8 games just one really poor game against Cardiff, but it had also to do with the red card anyhow. So I think they showed some resilience also in the last game. So that doesn't mean that we are scared or whatever. So of course we are greedy to be successful in this game, and we want to win all 3 points. But we are also respectful. We know that first of all we have to make sure that we do the basics, that we make sure that we don't allow them to develop their game, and then on the other hand also to find some good options to create chances and to score goals. And yes, especially in the home games, we've done this in the last weeks on a fantastic level. Yes, we should be a bit more effective than the last away game where we missed too many good chances. But overall, I think if we can bring the same level of the performance like in the last weeks on the pitch, we have also a good chance to win some points.
He's saying all the right things there, because you can tell by the question that he was asked, that will be the feeling of anyone connected to Leeds, probably that isn't part of the football stuff, that you're playing against an Argyle side that have only scored 1 goal away from home. They've lost 5 out of 6. They've conceded 22 goals this season. You know, everybody will be expecting them to win 2-3, 4-0 today, won't they?
They will, but as a manager, it's a dangerous mindset to allow your kind of club, if you like, and the players to fall into. So I think, of course, he's making the right noises in terms of showing respect to the opposition, ensuring that his players don't kind of fall into that trap, if you like, of thinking this game's won before it's even kicked off. You know, we always talk about the upsets and the strange results that the Championship as a league seems to produce, and you know he'll obviously be desperate for them to avoid defeat today. Yeah,
that will be the key. What are you maybe expecting then, Ian?
Well, I think Argyle do need to show something. Daniel Farker there, mentioning that Argyle have been brave in possession, across if you take the style and the season as a whole. So let's not just sit back. Let's show some intention to attack. I think it is a dangerous game to completely sit off and to invite Leeds onto you, because the key then becomes you can't afford one individual mistake, or one brilliant bit of play from a Leeds player that then means the game goes away from you. So that solidity, the communication, the discipline to keep the spaces between players at the right distances that denies space and denies those opportunities, that only works if you're then all solid as individuals, don't allow yourselves to get beaten easily and chances to come as a result of that.
Yeah, right. Let's head over to Elland Road, shall we? It's about to get underway. Argyle looking for their first win there in 62 years, and in doing so, hopefully getting out of the drop zone. Our commentary team of Nathan Alban and Lee Makel is standing by. Argyle at Leeds is next.